Hi guys! I'm back for season 4 and it feels really good. I know that some of you have been asking me for some time to make Korean recipes, so this season is dedicated to you. Joe and I came back from a month-long trip to Korea and I felt so inspired that I had to come back to the kitchen and share my recipes with you. So to start off, I'm gonna make a bulgogi. And that's a quintessential meat when you think of Korea. It's perfectly savory and sweet, and it's just everything you need in one meal. So come on, grab your sliced ribeye and I'll show you how to make this. Oh, don't mind me, I'm just mincing away garlic for days. You need a lot of it. But bulgogi is so commonplace in Korean cuisine. It's something you probably heard of even if you're not that familiar with Korean food. So I thought I would start out with that. What you're gonna need for it is sliced ribeye, ginger, garlic, onion, soy sauce, water, honey, brown sugar, scallions, roasted sesame seeds, black pepper, and sesame oil. Bulgogi literally means fire meat because it's usually grilled, but you can also cook it in a pan. When you cook it in a pan, juices will come out and that's perfect because you can put it over rice. So grab yourself a baking pan or even a large bowl, but I just like to use a wide surface, and you're gonna dump in two heaping tablespoons of minced garlic. That's actually the key to this recipe. 1 teaspoon of minced ginger. And I'm just gonna finish up my chopping while I have my board out. So I have 2 scallions, green onion. I'm just gonna cut these into about 2-inch lengths. And then you just need 1 medium onion. And in my case, I don't have one. So I'm just gonna use 2 small ones and just slice it up. I'm making a marinade, and okay, I don't want any hate comments because everyone and their mom literally has their own recipe for bulgogi marinade. So I have 6 tablespoons of soy sauce. This isn't the reduced sodium, it's just normal. And then you're gonna have to balance it out with the sweetness. The sweetness is what makes bulgogi bulgogi. So I have 2 packed tablespoons of brown sugar. Mine's a little clumpy, so I'm just gonna break it up with a spoon. And then I have 2 tablespoons of honey. And you know what? Korea right now is pretty obsessed with honey. There's even this thing called the honey butter chip that was like a fad, and it was like crack. It was like on the black market and really hard to find a snack based off of a honey chip. And yeah, Korea loves their honey. 2 tablespoons of mirin, and this is just a sweet rice cooking seasoning. You can find it in the Asian aisle in most grocery stores. And then 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. A teaspoon of roasted sesame seeds, so they sell these at the Korean grocery store, already roasted. And 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper, so just eyeball it. And lastly, 3 tablespoons of water because you need to dilute it just a tad. Most recipes out there require some sort of grated fruit, like grated Asian pear or grated apple even. If you like it, then add it in by all means. It kind of helps tenderize and add a little bit more sweetness. But because of the beef that I'm using is so thin, I feel like it doesn't need it. And plus soy sauce is a natural tenderizer too. I have 2 pounds of thinly sliced ribeye. This is what you get at the Korean grocery store, already sliced up. And you can totally slice up your own if you want to. Just make sure that you get your ribeye, put it in the freezer, and so that it's easier to slice, and then slice it about 1/8 of an inch thick against the grain so it's more tender to the bite. But why bother? Just buy it. Go to the Korean grocery store when you're buying everything else and get this. It's important that whatever meat you get, that it has good marbling. You don't want it to be something that's too tough of a cut, and you want it to have a little bit of fat on it. So you can see how razor thin these slices are. But one thing I like to do is separate the slices. So I make sure that I just kind of place them into the marinade one by one. Because these slices are so thin, it doesn't require that much marinating time. Just an hour will do. You can do this overnight if you want to. But if you marinate it too long, the soy sauce tends to break down the proteins a little bit. When we had bulgogi in Korea, it was only one time because bulgogi is actually expensive in Korea. Any kind of beef in Korea is expensive. But We had it in the stone pot with soup in it. It was called Bulgogi tukbegi. And that is pretty much the same thing, but it has a tiny bit more seasoning in the meat, and then there's a broth that accommodates it. Now I'm just gonna grab my onions, sprinkle it on top, and my scallions. And just to make sure that all the marinade engulfs all that meat, I'm just gonna give it a slight press. I like to put my marinade in this shallow dish because I've marinated in a bowl before, and then I find that I toss the meat too much and it kind of breaks it down. And I like to keep it as whole as possible. Inevitably, as you're cooking it, because it's so thin and tender, it is going to break down in the pan, but that's just the way it is. All I'm gonna do is seal it up with some plastic wrap. I like to make sure that it touches the surface of the meat so that it kind of kisses the meat. Wait for an hour. That's about it. I don't have a grill on, but I do have a cast iron on, so it feels kind of nice in my cold kitchen. I have it heating really well with some vegetable oil. Throw it all in there with the onions and the scallions. And you don't want to overcook it. Just treat it like any other thin cut of meat, even if it's marinated. Man, when that meat wafts up into your face, that smell is so comforting. Instantly, you recognize the smell of bulgogi no matter where you are. Now, if you do put it over a grill, it's gonna have its own unique taste because all the marinade's gonna drip down and it's gonna caramelize on the outside and it's turned crusty and golden and it's beautiful. I'm just gonna continue on with my other batch and I'm just gonna make enough for the two of us to eat. Whatever I have left over, I'll just keep it in the fridge for another day. If I have a lot left over, I'll just put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer. And I'm just gonna top it off with some more roasted sesame seeds and some chopped scallions. Call it a day. Eat it with some rice and some lettuce leaves. Bulgogi is definitely one of those smells that entice you. As soon as you smell it in the kitchen.
Sorry, it's really good.
As soon as you smell it in the pan, you just want to eat it right away, right? As you can see, we have a variety of greens. So we have perilla leaves or sesame leaves. And you know what's funny? When I was a kid, I used to think that my mom would go out in the backyard and just pick regular leaves off the tree and try to feed it to us. But this has kind of like a herbaceous, like basil-y taste to it. Almost mint. It's in the mint family, so it's good. And then we also have red leaf, which is typical, and green, just cuz. And then what I have here is some samjang, which is half red pepper paste and half bean paste. And you can check our video out if you're not sure what I'm talking about.
This is my comfort food.
Yeah.
I grew up eating Korean food, and bulgogi is definitely one of the staples, and I could literally eat this every single day.
Yeah, and he kind of did while I was recipe testing. Truth be told.
It's not a bad gig that I have.
Happy dance, right? There's something about Korean barbecue that's so addicting, and especially with these fresh vegetables and the samjang, it's just perfect. For substitutions, if you didn't want to use beef, then you can always try with chicken. I've seen tons of recipes with bulgogi chicken. Everything else is so self-explanatory and simple that I wouldn't really swap anything else out. Just for the sugars, have fun with it. Use white sugar instead of brown, use agave instead of honey. I mean, really, it's up to you. Well, I hope you enjoyed spending time with us today. We're just gonna eat our Korean feast. Of course, you gotta have the kimchi too. So if you enjoyed watching this, then remember to let us know by pushing like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye. Yeah. Oh, you didn't tell me action.
Oh,
2 tablespoons of mirin, and this is just a rice cooking wine. It's a sweet cooking. Okay. And you just eat it like normal over rice. Oh, I have a hair. Bulgogi literally means fire meat because it's usually grilled on an open fire or I don't know. Oh, we did it again. Okay.